surrender? What if I say I will never surrender? That's the big question here. Again, the jury is out on Ron Paul and Rand Paul. I think joining with Romney openly and not challenging him as they do Obama will hurt the legacy of Ron Paul and Rand Paul. There is no doubt in my mind politically that if Rand Paul stuck to his guns and behaved in the exact manner of his father, that he would end up being a super dominant force in the next election. And if he challenged election fraud in the states when it happened in Iowa and Maine like it happened this year, and if he got really aggressive and built a movement over 4 years, he could be a bully pulpit in the Senate and absolutely dominate and block legislation and promote legislation. And he could end up being the president of the United States and pulling this republic out of where it's going. But I'll tell you this, if he supports Romney and gets a speaking slot or a cabinet position or his dad does, when Romney betrays the American people, just like Obama's done, and tries to have amnesty and tries to have socialist health care and tries to have gun control and tries to have carbon taxes, everything he supported before he ran for president. Remember, Ron Paul has run TV ads about this. All the flip-flopping. He's bought and paid for by Bain Capital. He's bought and paid for by Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan. Do I dislike Romney? No. Seems like a funny, charming guy. Obama seems like a funny, charming guy at certain levels. They're teleprompter readers. They're high-level minions of the New World Order. So all of this is a distraction and a diversion. That's why Ron Paul was different, was because he was addressing the banksters, the crony capitalists who were anti-free market. He was bypassing their system, and folks, he was winning the first primaries. That's why the polls showed him first in Maine, first in Iowa, and then it was stolen. They caught them stealing it. They wouldn't count the precincts where he was winning. Even the New York Times had to admit he really won Maine. And now we see Rand coming out and saying, well, I always supported my father, but now I support Mitt Romney. And I understand why they're doing that. I know Rand Paul personally. I've known Ron Paul for 17 years. They're good people. Who you see on TV is who they are behind the scenes. They're good people. But they've been too close to the Beltway too long, and they have this idea of, let's not lose this political capital, let's take over the Republican Party. That's not what happened. And all of your supporters, I knew you were going to do this. And I warned you guys through back channels not to do it. I warned through your family not to do it. You think you're going to go in there and influence it. It doesn't matter, because the main body of your supporters, as you can see, again, I waited for this to happen. The main body of your supporters feel totally and completely 110% betrayed. Especially when Ron Paul says, go to Tampa and be respectful. Because Ron Paul people, when they're the majority of the delegates, the Republican leadership in Louisiana and other states is taking it and saying, no, we say the delegates go for Romney. So there's that stealing going on. And they're beating up and arresting the Ron Paul supporters. And Ron Paul comes out and puts it on the supporters and says, you need to be respectful. That's the reason I'm being somewhat critical today. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. And I better watch it, or I'm going to start saying more right here. Forget trying to influence Romney to be a constitutionalist. How about we influence Ron Paul and Rand Paul to be constitutionalist? How about you listen to your supporters and not Jesse Benton? And I'm not saying Jesse Benton's the bad guy here, but let me tell you, I've been around it for 6 years. And Jesse Benton shouldn't be the tail wagging the dog. The first Rand Paul supporters were my radio show. The first people in his campaign, when no one was there, it was grassroots, were my listeners. I've met them. I've had dinner with them. His head people. And they said, what do you think about what's happening? You know, and I said, let's wait and see. And I know Rand and Ron are good people. They're good people. And they've got great voting records. But I'm not going to sit here and watch this seduction of the Paul campaign and family without saying, hey, we don't just go wherever you go. You need to understand that. Okay? We're not here to be sold into Republican slavery just because you feel like it and you guys are all getting heady in meetings with Mitt Romney and have deluded yourselves that you're just going to be able to, go in there and influence them. I'm going to reserve total judgment on this, and I'm going to get more into this when we come back. But down the road, we're not going to forget if Romney gets in and then there's a bunch of Rand Paul defending him and stuff when he's doing wrong, I'm going to come after you. So be aware of that and understand that's the case. You understand? We'll be right back. I'm going to give the number out.
We're on the